in summary, from the last day, what we looked at, we talked about the comfort zone. And in order for us to achieve anything significant, we have to be outside our comfort zone. And the current times that we find ourselves in, we're more outside our comfort zone than we've ever been. But that's where all growth is, stretched outside the comfort zone. We talked about what is the thing, what actually holds us back from achieving things in life. And it's not a lack it usually comes back to fear. And a lot of Nelson Mandela says it's about how we fear about how great we can be as well. We also talked about last time about the genius and the genius ability that we have, and that as kids to the age of 6 or 7, we are 98% of us tested are considered to be geniuses. And as we are educated and as we learn, that genius capacity drops away. We then also talked about we become what we think about all day long, and what we focus on, we will get more of. If we allow the media to bombard our mind set with fear, with worry, and if we focus currently at the minute on listening to news or watching TVs, yes, be aware of what's going on, but there's no point in filling your mind full of that, because if you fill your mind full of that, it just becomes a fear-filled mind, and that's not good as well. And then we spoke about the mind, and we spoke about the mind being like a satellite navigation system, and that you have to give your mind the command to destination of where it is that you want to go in order to get there. And that ultimately links with goals and setting goals. And it's to set goals in all areas of life: business, finance, health, well-being, relationships, really to dig into that. And we looked at some questions the last day around goal setting as well. And then ultimately, you know, people, when I was doing the Ironman journey, people were asking me, they were saying, you know, how did you do it? How did you do it? And when I look back now, there's actually the day, I'll never forget the night that I decided to do the Ironman journey. That night was the night that I actually succeeded, looking back now. And that night I had made a decision, and it was such a decision made at such an unconscious level that there was zero doubt in my mind that I was going to achieve it. Yes, I had challenges. Yes, I had problems. But the number one key in achieving anything whatsoever is your ability to make a decision. And I don't mean just a surface level decision. I mean a decision that is so deep and so unconscious that there's just zero doubt left in your mind that you're going to accomplish it. If somebody came up to you and said, oh my God, you're not going to do that, that's so big, that's so challenging, you would just, and they might think that you're mad, but actually you're so certain that you're going to do the thing that you think that they're mad, if that makes sense. So it's like a decision made at such a deep level that there's zero doubt. When your mind is like that, you will accomplish anything. I don't care what it is in life. So we got through step 1. There's 7 steps, which I share about how I was lucky enough to break 1 Guinness World Record, and then in year 2 to do 32 triathlons in 32 days. And I shared one of them the last day, and that ultimately was down to making the decision. So today I'm going to look at other steps with you. So once you've made the decision, once you've committed to moving forward with achieving the goal, then you turn around and go, well, what's the next step of achieving anything big? Most people get into the how. The how is not important in achieving a big goal. Yes, you need to know how and steps, but the how is not the most important thing. When your why is strong enough, the how turns up. Write that down. When your why is strong enough, the how turns up. Your why you do something is the fuel for your motivation. And in actual fact, when you're clear about why you want to do something, you actually won't need any motivation. So when you're clear about some people in life are running away from the past. Fear pushes them forward, and that's their why. They're running away from the past, right? But when you're clear about, like, for example, when I thought about this big goal of doing 70.3 Ironmans in a 12-month period, I had just finished one race. And that one race, I struggled 6 hours, 43 minutes. I was in pain. I was in agony. That evening, I sat and had the idea of doing 30 of these races. Now, think about it. Logically, reality would tell you there's just absolutely no way a human being like me that had just trained for 8 months, completed one race, struggled, was going to set a world record of doing 30, traveling the world to 26 cities, 24 countries, 30 cities. It just wasn't possible. But at that time, I knew I wanted to do something to raise money to give back to kids and families. And I kept hearing heartbreaking stories of families and adults and kids suffering, and they were suffering to the extent that some of the stories that I heard really touched my heart, and really touched my heart. And I said, you know, it's not good enough. Society cannot allow our kids to take their own lives. And I knew I wanted to make a difference and do something. When I had the idea of doing the 70.3 Ironman, straight away there was a connection between, it was a big goal that could raise a lot of money, but it would be if I could achieve that goal, it would be an inspirational story. And along the journey, I could raise money for a kids' cause, which in my journey was for Super U. So for me, my family is hugely important to me, and I'm going to share a little bit about that in a moment. But the other thing was about Super U and raising money. So as I started out in that journey, all I could see was kids, and all I could see was making a difference in kids' lives. I was lucky enough 15 years ago to learn about the power of the human mind and the potential that we have. And I shared that with my kids when they were younger, and I was teaching them that and trying to teach them the well-being. But when I kept hearing stories of other kids, I says, no, I now need to get this message out to other people, that there's always an answer, there's always a way, there's always a step forward. I don't care what hurdle you're facing, what challenge you're facing, there's always an answer to that challenge. I made a commitment to raise money for Super U. And Super U, this is James McGrath here and me in the background. This is a school up in Northern Ireland. We did 26 counties in Ireland. We were in thousands and thousands and thousands of kids have heard the message of Super U, which is empowerment, which is showing kids to look for within for the answer and not in the external world. And thousands of kids have, but on this particular day, that photograph in the top right, there was a young guy at the back of the room. He stayed back. We had three sessions this day, 3 1-hour sessions. There was about 500 kids in total, maybe 600. But one guy stayed back and he sat down and he spoke to James and he shared a story of where he was at. And I'm not going to share that story because it's heartbreaking. But when James shared afterwards to me the story that young kid said, I said, what it reinforced to me was if I could just help one kid or make a difference in one kid's lives outside my own family, then the suffering and the journey of doing the Ironman would have been worthwhile. And that day there, and we've had loads more days like that and loads more feedback. So my why in doing this journey was about kids. At times when I wanted to give up, and believe me, there was a lot of times when I wanted to give up, I couldn't give up because the why, the fuel, which was making a difference in kids' lives, that was firing me up. I remember one race, it was in Austria. We were expecting very, very sunny weather, 30 degrees heat. And I was concerned about how I would cope with this heat. And I went out to Austria, traveled through Germany, from Munich up to Austria. And we set out. It was teeming rain the whole weekend. It rained. We got in, the lake was still and calm. So we got through the swim and then we got onto the bike. And on the bike, it was just teeming down out of the heavens like you'd never could imagine. But I got through the bike. It was challenging, not too challenging physically. I got through it. But when I was on the run, it was challenging on the run, and I was in pain, and I felt like crying. I felt like quitting. I felt like giving in. And the rain just teemed down. I saw just before the rain, at this time, the rain had stopped, but there was a wee kid in the distance, and she was going around on her bike, and the mother was there, and the mother was saying to the kid, you know, it was, I don't know, it was in Germany or whatever language it was. She was saying to the kid, come on, come on, come on, come on. You know the way we do to our kids. Come on, stop that. Stop doing that there. Stop doing that there. And all of a sudden the skies opened up and the rain poured down. And the mother nearly went hip, and she grabbed the kid and she shouted at the kid. She pointed to the kid. I told you to do this. You should have done that. Blah, blah, blah. And the kid started crying violently. And when I looked at that image, I said, that mother doesn't even know how that language is affecting that child's life. And at that moment, the fuel within me just activated, and I started to run faster. So when your why is big enough, and when you're clear about why you want to achieve anything, I don't care what goal it is. If it's a sales goal, why do you want it? Why do you want it? If you achieve that goal, what difference will that make? If you can have your goals set and your reasons for achieving those goals linked with reasons outside of yourself, then it's far easier for you to achieve your goal. What do I mean by reasons outside of yourself? What difference would it make? So if you've got a sales goal, or if it's a business goal, what difference will it make to you, to your family, to your team members, to ultimately the people that you're serving? Because we're all in this world to serve. What difference would it make? And when you're clear about all of the reasons why you want to achieve that goal, that will give you the fuel. And when challenges come, and believe me, the challenges will come, without a doubt, challenges will come. What will get you over those challenges and break through those challenges faster is that you know clearly why you want to do something. You know, nobody wants to work for somebody who's got a big goal to grow the business to such a level, and it's all about the money. That's not a why. The why is about the difference, the service that you make, that we all provide to the world. That's the why. And when we're clear about that, that's the fuel. So it's a concept which, you know, I heard this many, many years. People would say, oh, you have to be clear about why you want something. And I never really understood it at a deep, deep level until I experienced the Ironman journey. And that is what broke through all hurdles for me. So be clear about your why. Be clear about your why. The step 3 then, so that's step 2 is why. Step 1 is decision. Step 3, when you have a big goal. So for example, my big goal was to do 70.3 Ironmans. Now, you see a picture here of my family. Anyone that knows me knows that my family and kids, I left a very successful corporate career behind to be there for my kids when they were younger. And to me, that was a big goal in giving up the corporate career to be there with the kids when I had the freedom to choose it. So to set out to do a 70.3s, it was going to mean 12 months of my life. And it just wasn't feasible for me I had to travel the world. And some people would say that Jesus, didn't you have a great time? Well, believe me, I did. It's not great when you're traveling into a country. You don't even get to see the country. So you're just in, out. So when I sat down with my son, Cian, and I told him I wanted to do a world record 30, and Cian sort of said, well, Dad, you're going to be away for 12 months. I'm not going to see you. And I said, no, that's not an option. So logically, you would say it's just not practical. You have to run a business, Declan. You have to be there for your family. You have to make money. You have to train. You have to travel the world. You have to do all of these things in order to break this world record. When you set out to do a goal, if you allow logic to control you or tell you that you can't do it because you don't have money, you don't have time. I don't care whether you've zero money, zero time, zero training done. If you allow logic to jump in and try to convince you all the reasons why you will not achieve a goal, then that will cut you off. So at times like that, what I did, I developed this law, and this law was to apply reverse thinking. So everyone will say it can't be done. Well, I will go, well, if it can't be done, that means it can be done. The reverse of it can be done. So how can I do it? Daddy, you're going to be away for 12 months. No, that's not an option, Cian. How can we do this goal together, that I can have better quality time with you, that you can travel to different races with me? And me, Cian, and the kids sat down around the table and we mapped it out. And by the time we had it finished, it basically meant that of the whole
questions we have in reverse thinking is, if you were to go with the knowledge group,
Frank, will you just mute yourself, Frank?
Sorry, Declan. Sorry.
So reverse thinking. So me, Cian, and the family sat down, and at the end of it, I'll never forget Cian's face. We had mapped it out, and it basically meant that there was 12 weekends in the year for 2 days, 2.5 days, which he wouldn't see me. I'd be away. And he said to me, "Oh, is that all, Daddy? Well, should get away on then." He says, "I'll be glad to get ready for you for those 12 weekends." So my point in sharing this is, there's 1,000,001 reasons why, in reality, why you can't do something. Currently, at the minute, we're locked down. And the one of the businesses that I'm involved with, it's the windows. It supplies the windows to external windows and doors, Prestige Aluclad. And that business we're working away behind the scenes, but the sites are closed. So the reality is, you can't do business for the first 2, maybe 3 months of the year. So reality would tell you, well, I've 9 months now left. Well, the goals that we set for the 12-month period, we're going to have to cut them down to 9 months. So if you set a 2 million goal, you might pare that goal back to 1.5 million. No, what you have to do is apply reverse thinking and go, right, the reality is I've 9 months here now. How can I do 9 months, 12 months business in 9 months? How can I make 12 months money in 9 months? So it's to be, how would you say, it's to be that difficult person that does not accept reality and always asks an opposite question. How can I? How can I? And there'll always be reasons why you can't or shouldn't do something in life. Here's one of the biggest enemies that we will have. Number one is reality, which will tell you can't do it, right? Time is the biggest con of all for everybody. You'll set out to achieve a goal, and most people will go, I haven't got the time for it. I haven't got the time to do this. I haven't got the time to do that. Time is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Albert Einstein says, when you fully commit to achieving a goal and you know clearly why you want it, what my experience is, time expands and contracts and stands still. You get into the zone, you get into the flow, and when you're in the zone and the flow, just time seems to expand. But the biggest enemy of all that we'll always have is I call it the voice in our head. The voice in our head. And that voice in our head, when you commit to achieving a goal, there would be mornings, like, for example, there was one morning I remember very clearly on the Ironman journey. It was a Saturday morning. I had to get up. I had to train for 6 hours, 5 hours on the bike and 1 hour run. It was cold. It was dark outside. It was grey. When I woke up in the morning, my head started talking to me and telling me, no, don't do it. Give up. Sure, one day doesn't matter. You can pack that day's training in. Sure, if you just miss one day's training, it's not going to matter. But then I pulled myself around and I put one step on the floor and then another step, and I said, and I got over to the window and I looked out the window and it was grey, and the voice was firing off in my head again. Stop, quit, give in. No, don't do this. It's only one day's training. Sure, what does it matter? It's only one day's sales activity. Sure, if we miss it, what does it matter? It's only one day's blah, blah, blah. What does it matter if you miss one day? But when you set out to achieve a big goal, you can't listen to that voice in your head. I got onto the bike, I started cycling, and the voice in my head, I knew all the tricks of dealing with the voice in my head. And I'm going to share one with you in a moment that's very, very powerful. But I knew them all, but they weren't working at this time. I cycled over to RD, down to Cullen, and I was coming down the hill in Cullen. I was just about to cycle up the hill, and then this guy cycled past me, and I could hear the wheels going. He was just flying by me. I looked at him as he flew by me, and I was struggling, and my head started to talk to me even more. It started to say, oh my God, who do you think you are? Look at that. That boy's flying by you, and here you're struggling. World record. What sort of clown are you? And it kept going. And as I just came out of the dip, heading up the climb out of Cullen, I was at my weakest and lowest point, and my head was telling me, quit, stop, give in. It was torturing me. And I'll never forget it. It was early morning. And just at that moment, I shouted out at the top of my voice all over Cullen. If anyone had heard me, they would have thought I was a madman. I just shouted out, stop, stop. And as soon as I shouted out that stop, I was given a command to that voice in my head to shut the hell up. And all of a sudden, the voice stopped, and I started to feel better, and I started to cycle quicker, and I started to move forward, and I started to enjoy the thing. I think because I shouted so loud, I think that little voice in my head knew I was serious. So anytime that little voice in your head tries to convince you that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have this, just tell it to stop. Stop at the loudest of your voice. I finished that day, 5 hours, got on into the run, and I did a 1 hour run, and it was an amazing day, but I could have so easily have given in. So beware of that little enemy that's always firing off in our head, talking to us, saying, no, don't do that. You can't do that. Play small. Beware of that voice. The other voice to be aware of is the voice of other people. And as I shared the journey, so on that May 2017, that evening, I made the decision to do it. I committed to doing the journey. I knew why I wanted it, which was to raise money for Super U, the kids' cause. And I started the plan. I knew I needed accountability. And it's so important that you have accountability in life. That's why coaching is really powerful. So I knew I needed accountability, and I knew I needed to put myself, under pressure, and good pressure. So I came down here to my office and I recorded a video, and actually it was a Facebook Live. I went live on Facebook and I put it out, and I told the world that I was going to set out about doing a world record. Now, the amount of messages I got back was, oh my God, you're going to kill yourself. Why do 30? Just do 20. Person after person after person tried to convince me that I was going to, and one person rang me and offered to give me help with a breathing technique that I wouldn't take a heart attack. Everyone tried to convince me I would get injured. Everyone tried to convince me to play small. My coach, I rang him up and I said, look, I want to do this world record of doing 30 races in 12 months. And he said to me, Declan, you're mad. It's not feasible. He says, I'm Ireland's fastest Ironman. I couldn't do it. And so everyone around me was telling me it can't be done. But I had like this invisible shield around me. And I call it a shit reflecting shield. Everyone should have a shit reflecting shield. It's an imaginary shield that goes around you, that when people try to talk you out of doing something that you really want to do, it just, their voice bounces off that shield. And when I would be on an airplane and I would be traveling to a different country, right? There used to be a game I'd play, and the game I'd play would be, I'd be sitting in the airplane seat and usually be sitting beside somebody. And the game I'd play would be, how long will it take? How long will it take for them to fire their shit at me? So I'd sit in the seat and I'd be sitting there and I'd go, and they'd say hello to me, the passenger beside me. I said, hello, how are you? And they'd say, oh, you go on your holidays? And I go, no. Are you going on your holidays? And they'd say, yeah. And they'd say, well, what are you doing? I says, I'm going over to do an Ironman race. Oh, really? What's that? It's a 1.9 kilometer swim, 90 kilometer bike, and half marathon. And they said to me, oh, really? And have you done many of them over the years? I says, yeah, I'm about 16 at the moment. I've done about 16 at the moment. And how many years did it take you to do those 16? Well, I've done them in this last 4 months. And as soon as I said I'd done 16 in 4 months, the first thing that would happen was they'd look me from head to toe, because I didn't look like an athlete. I'm not an athlete. I never was an athlete. They'd look me from head to toe. And then the next thing they would go, but do you not get injured? But how do you have the time? And what about your family? And what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And they didn't know they were doing it. But if I hadn't got my shield up, I would allow that nonsense to get in my mindset. And that nonsense is like a virus. If you allow the media to get in your mind, it's a virus. If you allow all the people talking you out of achieving a goal, it's a virus. If you allow the biggest enemy of all, yourself, to talk you out of achieving a goal, that's the worst virus of all. So you say, stop to the inner voice. You say, have your shield up for the outer voice and let it bounce off you. So apply reverse thinking. If somebody says it's hard to do, the opposite of that is it's easy to do. Brian said to me, my coach, Brian McChrystal, said to me, Declan, it's not reasonable, feasible, or possible for an athlete to do 30 70.3s in 12 months. It's just, especially not you. You're only trained 8 months. So I said to Brian, I said, so Brian, you're saying I can't race every weekend? Yes, you can't race every weekend, Declan. You'll kill yourself. So I said to Brian, okay, well, Brian, I'm not going to race every weekend. What if I just trained every weekend instead of racing? And he stopped and he looked at me and his mind was calculating. He's going, what do you mean train? Well, you said I can't race, so I'm not going to race the race. I'm just going to use the race as a training session. And straight away he goes, okay, well, if you used it as a training session, then it could be done. And so I says, Brian, you're telling me it can be done then? And he said, yes. So apply reverse thinking to everything in life, in your business, in your sales, in your family life, in your health. Apply reverse thinking and don't allow reality to control your situation and your circumstances. I'm not going to be able to achieve my 12-month business goal in 2021 because of COVID. Well, you know, things is going to open up. Ask the question, well, if I was to achieve it, how could I achieve it? People don't know a couple of things about the Ironman record that I did. I didn't do it in 12 months. I actually did it in about 9 months because there was 3 months of the year that I couldn't find races. The races were too far away around Christmas time and January time. If I wanted to do races that time of the year, I had to go to Australia, New Zealand, and to Japan, and that just wasn't on the cards. So I had to do not 30 races in 9 months, not in 12 months. And it's ironic that, you know, the economy, we probably have 9 months of the economy left this year, please God, in business. So if you've got a sales goal, a business goal, you can still do it, 12-month goal in 9 months, but you have to apply reverse thinking. The other thing is that people don't know is in order to do 30 races, I actually failed. And I'll tell you the reason why I failed. The reason why I failed was I actually had booked 36 races. Listen to this part. I had to book 36 races. 6 of the races I failed. I didn't get to them for various reasons. Somebody close to us, I was to break the record in Staffordshire in England. And the day before I was to travel, somebody close to us died. And it just wasn't an option for me to do that record that weekend. Another race in Italy, I missed flights. So I actually failed 6 times to do the 30. So the point of that is you have to book more races. So aim sort of higher as well, if that makes sense. So apply reverse thinking. Do not accept reality. It's usually a lie. So what's the next step? And actually, before we move on to that, how our thinking works is we have thoughts. So if we've good, happy thoughts, we think good, happy feelings. And when we feel better, that leads to better actions, which is better results. If our mind is filled with the media, with the news, with case numbers, with this and this and this and this, then we're not going to be in a very positive state. We'll be in a negative state, which leads to negative feelings, which leads to less than positive actions, negative actions, which gives us lower results. So we have to constantly fill our mind with what we want, constantly use in that wee planner that I have, the high performance planner. And there's actually 7 exercises in that little planner, mindset exercises that I encourage people to do every single day, because that primes your mind to work for you as well. So thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. This is a little diagram for peak performance in life. Before I would do, somebody asked me the other day, what was my routine on a typical Ironman race? And the typical routine might be wake at 3 o'clock in the morning, up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go for breakfast, and then go down to my bike, check the bike at about 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock. And then we might have an hour to 7, 7:30 before the swim would start. So I could be standing there amongst 2,000 people getting ready to go into this race. And you'd be buzzing and you'd be zapping as well, right? But various races, I had lots of pain and lots of challenges. And like one particular race in Marbella, I lost my phone, my wallet, I had no money to eat. I did my back in, I banged it off a table. And that morning, standing at the side of the race, my back was killing me. I didn't know how I was going to get into the water. And nobody knew this. I met a guy there who was a New Zealand guy, and he started talking to me. He was from Ireland, and we were chatting back and forward. And he was asking, I didn't tell him what I was doing, but or what had happened to me. So as we were about to get into the race, I had a routine. And for you in life, there's a simple routine that you can use. Whether you're when you get up in the morning, you can use it. And if you're going into a sales meeting, you can use it. If it's in business or sports, you can use this simple little exercise. And the simple little exercise was, number one, was physiology. I would be standing there amongst the thousands of people, and I'd stand tall, put my shoulders right back, stand really, really tall, because as soon as you change your physiology to a tall, powerful stance, automatically you change your state. So the first thing was I changed my physiology, which was standing taller. The next thing was I would take 3 deep breaths in, breathe in and breathe out, breathe in and breathe out. So as soon as I would breathe like that, I would change my state as well. Then the next thing I would do is I clench my right fist, and language here is the next thing. I would say, yes, I can do this. 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 Over and over, I'd say to myself, yes, I can do this. And that was changing the language. And then the next thing was I would just close my eyes and see myself finishing the race at that particular moment in time. So to empower yourself, it's 3 things you need to change. You need to change your physiology, which is your body language, stand taller, breathe. If we were in a room together now, I'd be encouraging you to stand up and do it. The next thing was change your language and go, yes, I can do this. I can, I will, I must. Yes, I can do this. And then the next thing is to focus on the end outcome of what you want. When you do those 3 things in a triad like that, it primes you for success. It primes you for achievement. It primes you for happiness. It primes you for fulfillment. It primes you for performing at your peak performance level. Every single Ironman challenge that I did, and every single 32 challenge I did, I used this exercise before I would start the day. I couldn't have got through the day without the exercise. You can use this exercise in anything. If you're in sales or management or whatever it is, use this exercise. It really, really helps to empower you. And the magic words in life is, how can I? How can we? Always ask, how can I and how can we? And apply reverse thinking. I can, I will, and must. That's the attitude we need. I can, I will, and must. I can, I will, and must. Even say that over and over and over to yourself again. I can, I will, and I must. I can, I will, and I must move forward. It changes your state. The next part of the journey is the how, right? So when you set out to do any journey, you have to have a roadmap. You have to have a how. And when I set out to do the Ironman journey, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to train for it. So I thought to myself, who's the best in Ireland? And the best in Ireland was Brian McChrystal. He's the Irish record holder for Ironman. So I reached out, emailed Brian, and I said, Brian, will you show me how to do Ironman? Will you train me? And he said, yeah, no bother. And he gave me a coaching program to follow. Every day I'd get up, he would have in my app what tasks I had to do for that day. And I didn't know any better. So I had to follow the tasks. And it's simple. If you want to double your sales, well, then you go and find somebody who has doubled their sales, ask them what they did, and then just copy them. Google it, in actual fact. If you want to know how to do anything in life, all you have to do is Google it, and it's there in front of you. It'll tell you exactly what to do. But why don't we do it? If you want to make £1 million, Google it, and the steps is there, the roadmap's there. If you want to break a world record, Google it, the steps is there, and the roadmaps are. But why do we not follow the roadmap that other people say works? It's because we don't decide what we want. We don't understand our why, and we don't really commit. We semi-commit. And then we allow people to talk us out of it. We allow other people to talk us out of it. We accept reality. So when you use all of the tools that I've just said there, then all you have to do is go, this is very easy. Who can I reach out to that has done this goal? And I can sit down with them, ask them how to do it. And when they tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. Now, here's the challenge with most of us in life. We sit down and somebody has got a result that maybe we want, and they turn around and say to you, well, this is what you need to do to get the result. The human condition is I call it the I know. It always comes in, and we always know better than somebody else. So for example, Brian would give me the program, and Brian would say to me, Declan, you have to train in zone 2 heart rate. Now, zone 2 heart rate is running, cycling with not above 132 heartbeats for me. Now, at the start, I couldn't run, I couldn't cycle at that. I actually had to walk. So I was cycling on a bike and my heart rate would go up over 132. Brian said not to go over 132. So I stopped, I walked with the bike. People must have thought I was crazy. Walking, cycling, running, walking. And at times I would be sitting there and go, oh, this is going nowhere. Where's this all going? But he was the best, and he was telling me to do something. He was the best, and he was telling me to do something. So I was going to follow it. And I had to follow it because I had no other choice. Brian says to me that 80% of his clients know better than him, yet he's the Irish record holder for Ironman. And 80% of the people that he trains know better than him. So the 20% that really, really go and get the results will follow exactly what that coach or what that mentor or what that person who's got the result, they'll follow exactly what they say to do. So the how is easy. Reach out to somebody who's done it, ask them how they've done it, ask for their help, and they usually will help you. The next step is to work hard. Look, we have to work hard at anything in life. We have to work hard. You know, I wasn't going to be able to do 30 70.3s in 9 or 12 months without training for it. I had to train for it. But, you know, when your why is really, really strong, and when you 150% commit to a goal, and when you have somebody holding you accountable, then you'll follow through in the actions, follow through on the steps, and work hard. So if you have to get up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning and to go for a training session, and if you have to make those sales calls, or if you have to take those steps, whatever the steps is to move forward, when your why is strong enough, it's so much easier to do the work. Now, there's 2 ways of working hard. Listen to this, because this is incredibly important at this point. Write this down. Most people in life work hard with effort. Let's go, 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 go. Let's make this happen. Let's go, go, go. It's all head work. It's all head work, right? There's a difference. Effortful head work. Effortful head work works, but it creates stress in life and is not good. There's another form of working hard, and I call it the effortless working hard. Effortless working hard. Working hard with effort is like a glass. The glass is hard. But working hard effortlessly is like a leather belt. It's hard, it's strong, it can't be broken. So when you work hard effortlessly, there is a very, 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 very big difference between the two. So work hard effortlessly at the thing that you want to do. And how do you work hard effortlessly? There's seven simple little mindset tools that you can use every single day, like meditation, like language, like breathing, like asking, like trust and faith. 7 simple little tools that you can use every day that can help you to stay in the zone of effortlessly working. So there is a big difference there, but we do have to work hard. We're not going to achieve anything big in life without putting in the effort and putting in the work. But the biggest thing that we have to do, and my mantra for the 2 years, 2017, 2018, 2019, became one step at a time. Matt Cooper interviewed me on his radio show about the journey, and he asked me, he says, God, the goal is so big, Declan. Do you not, like, it's so big when you think about the goal, you go mad. And I found myself in the interview, turned around and said to him, yeah, look, it is big, Matt, but I don't allow myself to think about how big the goal is. I've set the goal, I've committed to it, and I just surrender to it. I know it's going to happen, but I come back to here and now. The only moment that matters is the here and now, right where we are, the foot stomp on the floor. And I says to Matt, if I was to think about how big that goal was, I'd crack up. So I don't think about how big the goal is, Matt. I don't try to figure out all of the steps along the journey, because you will never be able to figure out all the steps. I do sort of do a bit of a plan, but that I know that plan will always change. But the big mantra in life I learned was to really take one step at a time. You know, every single day to move forward with life. If you just said to yourself, what are the 3 actions that I can do today that can help me to move forward quicker with my life, to move forward quicker with my business, to move forward quicker with my sales, to move forward quicker with my health, and just collapse it down into 3 simple steps. But those 3 simple steps that you choose to do are the main steps that can help you to achieve whatever goal it is, and just take one step at a time. When you begin to adopt the idea of taking one step at a time, not worrying about the future, not thinking about the past, just being where you are, which is here, which is now, relaxing, breathing. All I need to do is one step. What step can I take? All I need to do is another step. What step can I take? And no matter where you're coming from, whether you've been just robbed and the money's gone, whether you've lost your phone and you've no contact with the world, whether your back is bamboozled and you can't literally walk, and you just have to set out to do 70.3 miles of a race, and everything is telling you can't do it. That morning at 6 o'clock, when I woke up in Marbella with excruciating pain going through my back, I couldn't move in the bed. You know, I believe I have a faith in life, and I was talking to God. I says, Jesus, God, you're not going to get me through this one, are you? I couldn't get out of the bed. And just at that moment, I was about to quit that and not do that race that day. And then a little still voice within me turned around and said, put one foot in the ground. Now put another foot in the ground. Now stand up. Now I stood up with pain. Another step forward. Another step forward. I found myself in the bathroom shaving. Another step forward. Another step forward. And I kept, the way that I lived that day was one step at a time. When I stood at the edge of that water, my back was excruciatingly sore. I didn't know how I was going to get into and swim that race. So I took one step at a time down the beach. While everyone was running into the water and diving into the water, I was walking in agony into the water, one step at a time. I got one foot into the water, another foot into the water. Then I got submerged in the water. And when I submerged in the water, I began to take one stroke at a time. one stroke at a time, one breath at a time. And as I adapted that solution, all of a sudden I found myself swimming my fastest swim time ever on that day. And I got through the day and finished the race. And the one thing that got me through it was one step at a time. All we need to take is one step at a time in life, and stop trying to figure out everything. The next thing is to stand guard at the doorway of the mind. And this is going back to what I said earlier about other people. Avoid the news, avoid the media, avoid the negative talk of other people. Of the ones that's closest to you, your family, can actually have an impact in trying to talk you out of doing the thing that you want to do as well. So you have to stand guard at the doorway of your mind and not let any of that in. Have that invisible barrier up around you and a shield, and just let it bounce off you. So stand guard at the doorway of the mind. And then the seventh thing is trust and faith. Trust and faith. And what does that even mean? Somebody asked me the other day, what does actually trust and faith actually mean? Trust and faith is a muscle which is in our human body, human mind, and it needs to be strengthened. And trust and faith is knowing that you have this thing that you would love to do, you would love to create. It's a love, right? And when you commit and make a decision to do that thing that you love to do, you commit to it, you commit 150% to it, you make an unconscious decision to do it, and you know why you want that thing, then you know that you don't have to figure out all of the steps, that all you need to do is take one step at a time. Trusting and faith means that when you're at the top of that mountain and you're pulled out of a race and everything in planet Earth is telling you it's not possible to go on, trust and faith grabs a hold of you and lifts you and takes you on that journey and helps you to finish that race in life. It's to have trust and faith that something outside of ourselves is actually going to look after us, is going to help us and help us to guide us along the way. Whatever you want to call that, the trust and faith for me was, I believed that this goal that was given to me, it was given to me. I didn't choose it. It was given to me in the form of inspiration, and it felt right. It felt close to my heart, and it was an inspiring goal, and it activated me. It was big and scary, but it also was exciting. And I knew that because that goal was given to me, I didn't have to figure out all of the steps and all of the way. It was to have trust and faith that that very goal will come about as well. So when people ask me, how did I achieve the goals? And any goal in life is the same. It's to make a decision. It's to know why you want it. It's to apply reverse thinking. It's to stand guard at the doorway of the human mind. It's to find somebody who has already done what it is that you want to do. And it's to develop that muscle of trust in faith in life. When you use those 7 principles in that order, then I believe that anything is possible. And as Marianne Williams said, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that we fear the most. So that is the journey, guys. If you have any questions, I will take them now at the moment.